Well, of course, he is known as the father of guerrilla marketing, essentially promotional campaigns that rely on energy, imagination, time and sometimes interaction instead of huge budgets. Jay Levinson spent years in the ad industry working on some of the biggest brands around, including the Marlboro Man, before teaching his guerrilla marketing concepts to students including Steve Jobs and Bill Gates. He's in Australia to share his experiences and insights at the Wealth from Marketing forums around the country from tomorrow, and he joins us now. Jay, thank you so much for coming on the program. Just firstly, tell us a bit about your background, because it's fascinating, some of the campaigns and brands that you've worked on over the years, including, of course, the Marlboro Man.
Well, I was lucky enough to be employed by advertising agencies that had these high-profile companies, many of which started as little two-man operations in a garage, but they became large companies. So that was a blessing for me. However, as much as I liked the corporate life, I didn't like the weather where I was living in Chicago. So I asked for a transfer, and when they couldn't do it, I made my own transfer, moved to San Francisco, and I opened my own company, and I realized that working on my own, I was protected from committees and meetings and memos, and I could accomplish in 3 days what used to take 5 days. And I wrote a book about that, Earning Money Without a Job, which led to me being invited to teach at the University of California in Berkeley. And that led to me attracting kinds of people who one day said to me, they said, Jay, we all have Levi's, long hair. We all have great ideas. None of us have money or a clue how to put the word out. Could you recommend a book? I said, I'll be happy to, but I was unable to. I went to libraries throughout California, couldn't find any books on marketing because they were all written for companies with budgets of $300,000 a month, which was not the kids in my class, but I had made them a promise, so I wrote a book. I called it Guerrilla Marketing because guerrillas want conventional goals, needing unconventional means. Same with my students. They wanted financial independence, joy in their lives, balance, but they couldn't go about it with traditional advertising or PR, so they had to use unconventional means, and so that's what guerrillas do. That's why Guerrilla Marketing was written strictly for the kids in my class. Never knew that the book would take on a life of its own and sell 21 million copies, be translated into 62 languages, which means you're talking to a man who does not understand 61 editions of his own book. But small business has exploded around the world, and they needed what guerrilla marketing taught. And that's how this whole thing came about. And the kids in my class went out to form companies like Apple, Microsoft, Dell, Oracle. All the big Silicon Valley companies are run by kids who were in my class, the ones with the long hair, the ones with the Levi's. But they took what I said to heart, and they invested time, energy, imagination, and information, not money. They didn't have the money. And so that's how this whole phenomenon came about. Lucky me, I was doing the right thing at the right time, writing the right book for the right people.
Well, let's get into the term guerrilla marketing. It conjures up ideas of thinking smarter, maybe being able to do things cheaper than conventional. Is that at the heart of it?
You know, James, that's exactly at the heart of it. People think it has to do with ambush marketing or sneaky or unethical marketing. It doesn't. It has to do just what you're saying, leaning on the brute force of creativity rather than the brute force of a large marketing budget.
Well, give us some examples of guerrilla marketing that you've seen work really well.
Well, an apartment building in Los Angeles was an area where the occupancy rate was 70%. So they put up a sign in front of their building that said free auto grooming. And what does that mean? It means that they hired somebody to wash the tenants' cars once a week. And they got 100% occupancy, which they've had ever since. And the difference between 70% and 100% easily covered the cost of the man who washed the tenants' cars. That's guerrilla marketing. A furniture store. A man was running a furniture store, and one day he went to work and he saw that the lot on his right was being developed, and a building was going up, and lo and behold, it was a bigger building than his, and it was a furniture store. And then that wasn't bad enough. The building on his left, the lot on his left, was also being developed. It too became a big building. It too was a furniture store, and he was flanked by competitors much bigger than him. If that wasn't bad enough, one day he got to work on the building on his right and unfurled a big banner saying prices slashed 60%. And he thought, my Lord, he says, their banner was bigger than my store. And on the left, even worse, another banner was hung and it said prices reduced to 75%, and again the banner was bigger than his store. This man, being a guerrilla, ran into his store, prepared his own sign, hung it out, and it said main entrance. That's what guerrilla marketing is all about, creativity rather than money.
How has the growth of the internet and now mobile advertising, has that opened up opportunities for people who are into guerrilla marketing?
On the button, yes,
Yeah.
because it's inexpensive. It's inexpensive to use the internet. It's inexpensive to use the social media. It's inexpensive to use mobile media. These are things that now it puts marketing in the hands of the people without big budgets and without deep pockets. And as a result, the world is belonging more to small business than big business, and the major media are beginning to diminish in popularity as the growth of things like the internet and Twitter and Facebook are growing exponentially everywhere.
Guerrilla marketing, I guess, doesn't always work either, though. I guess, what are the things that you need to learn? I mean, one incident, you'd remember, a few years ago in Boston, the bomb hoax incident that got Turner Broadcasting into all sorts of trouble because of the light boxes that they'd put up around the city. Yeah, what are the things that people need to watch out for?
Well, you've got to be careful not to offend a company, a person, a community, or a nation. And what happened in Boston is that people still were worried about the 9/11 attacks, and they were very paranoid because these things happen sometimes in subway stations. And so this Turner ploy for their marketing was near subway stations. And the people were paranoid about it because the people who did it weren't sensitive to the sensibilities of the community. And if you're not sensitive to those or to the people or to groups, you can get in trouble. Guerrilla marketing is not ambush marketing, it's not sneaky, it's not graffiti, it's straightforward, up and up, but as I say, leaning on creativity rather than big dollars.
Can a company base its whole strategy around a guerrilla marketing sort of the ideas, or is it good to sort of invest some traditional dollars in supporting media as well, or not necessary? Or?
You should co-write my next book with me, James, because that's exactly what it is. It's a combination of the best of the traditional media, the traditional ways of marketing, combined with the best of the new things. You can't rely entirely on guerrilla marketing. You can't rely entirely really on the internet or on the social media, but those are very valuable tools to be combined with the traditional forms of marketing. Yeah. And so I don't say abandon what you've been doing. I'm saying lighten up on the money you're putting out and open your mind to these other things. It's a combination of old and new.
Just looking, I guess, as well, because obviously media companies are trying to come to grips with the whole drift from hard copy to digital that we've been seeing. Do you think, I guess, that digital newspapers can be sold to people who are used to getting their news for free online?
Yes, I think that the world is very slowly beginning to change their viewing habits, their reading habits, their learning habits, and their buying habits. When people buy something, they don't go to a store first, they go online first. And although they may not be buying online, that's where they get the information first. And I thought my favorite part of my life was having my cup of coffee and reading my newspaper each day. I don't read a newspaper anymore. I get it all online. I still have the cup of coffee, but I'm not making major changes in my life, nor is the public around the world, but they're adjusting what they've been doing, and companies have to be prepared to be as flexible as the public is being. They're learning to do things in a new way. The yellow pages are dying out as people are communicating with Twitter and Facebook and MySpace and LinkedIn. Those things are growing, and most people think that'll go away, but they thought television would go away. They thought that the internet, that's a fad. But those things aren't fads. These things are part of society, and you've got to open your mind to using them. Guerrilla marketing is particularly suited to introduce new ways to market rather than being hidebound in old traditions.
Yeah. Can companies overcomplicate their message? Because some of the brands you mentioned before, you always think of a very simple logo and maybe a couple of images, but not everyone does that.
You're right. One of the two reasons guerrilla marketing has become so successful around the world is, number one, it's very simple. It takes the complexity and the mystique away from marketing. I tell people, and this included Bill Gates and Steve Jobs and the people who have built these behemoth companies, I say you can create a marketing plan in 5 minutes, 7 sentences long, that's all. Anybody can do that. The hard thing is to commit to that plan, because marketing does not work instantly. Even though for some people these days instant gratification is not quite fast enough, you've got to be patient enough to hang in there and realize that your commitment, what makes a marriage work? Commitment. What enables you to finish a marathon? Commitment. What enables your marketing campaign to be successful? Commitment. So it's very simple, and it's committing to that simple plan. The commitment is the hard part. The creating of the 7-sentence plan, 5 minutes, that's all it takes.
So those long marketing meetings, people are wasting their time? Cut them down?
Well, the great companies have really 7-sentence marketing plans. They may have 200 pages of documentation, but the documentation is not really part of it. The real thing is the meat and potatoes are the 7 sentences which call people's attention to the things they should focus on. Purpose of their marketing, what physical act do you want people to take? Do you want them to click to a website, make a phone call, clip a coupon, look for your brand next time they're at a store? Next thing, you've got to focus on what is your competitive advantage. Everyone offers benefits, but what do you offer that they don't offer? Third thing you must focus on is your target audience. Just who are you aiming your message at? Not everybody. Fourth sentence tells the marketing weapons you'll use. In guerrilla marketing, we identify 200 marketing weapons, most of which are free. And we say, select the weapons you're going to use. Be aware of all of them, experiment with them, and settle out the combination that will work best for you. Because it's marketing combinations that work these days. No one weapon of marketing can bring home the bacon for you, but a combination can. The fifth sentence tells your niche in the marketplace. What do you stand for? When people hear the name Volvo, they think safety, Mercedes, luxury, Porsche, excitement. What do they think of when they hear the name of your company? That's the fifth sentence. Sixth sentence tells your identity, not your image, because it's defined, the image is defined in the dictionary as a facade. You don't want to put up a facade. You want to, your identity stems from truth and honesty. What's your company personality? Communicate that. And the seventh sentence tells your marketing budget, expresses a percentage of your gross revenues. In 2009, the average business in Australia, Asia, Europe, South America, and the United States invested 4% of their gross revenues in marketing. Gorillas know the average business goes out of business within 5 years, so they try to do better than that. If you address those 7 points, you're well on the road.
Jay, it's been fascinating to listen to you. And of course, you're speaking around the country at the Wealth and Marketing forums. There's more information on that at seminarwealth.com.au. I believe. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you for inviting me and listening to me go on and on about my favorite topic, guerrilla marketing.
Oh, we could listen all day. Thank you. Jay Levinson there, father of guerrilla marketing. Do stay with us coming up on Media Week. Plenty more. We'll be looking at radio revenue. It was resilient in August despite the federal election. Details next.